Let's talk about those flotels to start with. Is it a floating prison?
No. We saw these. Actually, the Scottish government used them in Glasgow for housing some Ukrainian refugees when they came over as well. So I think what we want to do is try and get people into a situation where we're not having to use hundreds of hotels at really high cost across the country, and look at better ways of managing our immigration system.
So 500 or more people can come and go as they like in this small area?
No, and some of them are going to be in ports, particularly ports are quite protected areas. So it's, I think it's about trying to manage these people as well as possible while their immigration status is
So can they come and go as they please or not?
Well, it's obviously ports are protected areas, so there's. So
they can get off the boat but not out of the port?
Well, that will be certainly the case in some of the areas.
So it's a type of prison then?
No, it's not a type of prison at all. What these places are is places for people to be safe and secure while their immigration claims and asylum claims are processed in the UK.
When they come off the boat, they can't go into the local town?
Well, I think we try and have them in
we
a
don't know.
I think we try and have a situation, and one of the issues that a lot of people are worried about is what impacts they'll have on local services.
That's what I'm asking.
No, I understand that's what you're asking, okay. And one of the things that we're going to ensure with all of these sites is things like doctors' facilities they will have on site, so that they can be processed there and looked after on site without the need to impact on local communities. Because I think that's the issue that most people have is, are my local services going to be affected by this? And actually, what we're doing with housing significant numbers in individual places and ensuring that there's other services that will be needed while these people go through the asylum processing system are provided as far as possible on site.
But this is going to happen every 28 days because you're going to move people out every 28 days to Rwanda or wherever else they might be going. So there's going to be a constant stream of people.
Well, what we're hoping is that over time this will provide that proper effective deterrent to stop people illegally crossing the channel. Well, we've already seen a decrease, for example, in the number of Albanian migrants crossing the channel this year.
In the short term,
return
Minister,
agreement.
what is going to happen? Every 28 days, if it goes according to plan, 200 and odd people are going to go, another 200 and odd people are going to come.
If it goes according to plan, over time, what we'll see is a general fall and a reduction in the number of people crossing the channel.
In the short term?
Well, in the short term, there will obviously be people moving in and out of them.
Yeah.
But what we want to do, and the entire basis of this, is to try and create an effective system so we can, A, get these cases dealt with really quickly, and B, provide a deterrent for anybody trying to bypass the normal immigration and asylum system by using small boat crossings. Okay. What I want to see, and what my constituents want to see, is to see people coming through the normal channels. We do have those channels open.
Of course, everybody does, but that's not happening at the moment. 222 on this barge. What's going to happen to the other 166,000?
Well, there's, as I said,
how many boats are you going to need?
There's lots of options being looked at the moment.
That's a lot of boats.
One is around disused military bases. That's one place that's being looked at the moment. I know that the Immigration Minister's been looking at that.
The Foreign Secretary said, absolutely not in my backyard.
Well, I think everybody has to take their responsibility as ministers.
Including the Foreign Secretary?
Of course. I've got an immigration removal centre.
That's him told, if you're listening this morning, Mr Cleverly.
Which has been set up in my own constituency to help to remove illegal migrants from the UK. I think we've all got to take our share of that. But what I think we do want to see is stopping using huge quantities of very expensive hotel accommodation.
Is this going to be cheaper? Because there are some suggestions it's not.
So my understanding is that that's exactly the plan, is that A, it's going to be cheaper, B, it provides more of a deterrent, and C, it means that you're not going to impact those local communities as much because you're going to have more of those facilities provided on site.
You say that. We've seen the pictures in the paper this morning. They can play pool, they can go to the gym, have a wild time.
Well, I think what we want to see is that done in a controlled environment as far as possible, so that we can manage those situations and manage those people through the asylum and immigration process.
And when will that happen? When will the first people be on the barge?
Well, I think this is being looked at the moment. I know contracts are being discussed at the moment around the UK with different areas, so I can't give you a definite date and timeline on it.
Before the summer?
But this is what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to do as quickly as possible.
In a month?
Could even be sooner than that. It might be a little bit further away. But this is something we're really keen to get on top of. It's one of the top priorities for people. It's to show that we've got control of our own borders and we're also dealing with this backlog. I want to see that done as quickly as possible. But we need to get these contracts in place. And it will be, as you say, there will be a large number of them required across the UK, and there'll be different solutions there. But we can't have a situation in which people are housed in hotels in the centre of towns across the country.
What we also can't have it's kids sitting on coaches for 20 hours at the Port of Dover. What are you doing to make sure that doesn't happen this weekend?
Well, look, there's, over the last decades, there's always been surges at when people are at particular peak times, particularly bank holiday
not like this.
weekends. I don't think that's true. Actually, I think you did see it years before when people were getting away for family holidays.
So you think I'm going to ask you about
coaches.
Brexit? I'm not. I'm just asking you how are you going to make sure that kids are not sitting on a coach and have to be fed pizza by their teachers?
I think it was particularly important the Port of Dover issued some press releases yesterday making clear that their responsibility in dealing with this situation. I agree with them. I think the situation which has been there is unacceptable. I don't want to see kids on coaches or families in cars queuing up and waiting unnecessarily long periods of time.
Who should be apologising for that?
Well, I think it's been the Port of Dover have made it very clear that there was a difficult situation there, that there was some weather-related issues in the Channel as well. But there's going to be pinch points when they're at peak times of the year, and small things could knock those best-laid plans off as well.
Minister, you will have seen yesterday that there was an inquest. This is your brief. An inquest heard how a crash on a smart motorway killed 2 pensioners. Wouldn't have happened if there had been a hard shoulder. You're pausing any smart motorways going forward. It is time to stop them, isn't it? They are dangerous.
Well, I think that's exactly the reason we're pausing them, is to see overall what the impact is. We need to get that data there. What the data shows to date is that actually there's separating traffic moving in 2 different directions is the safest thing that we can do. So our motorway network and our dual carriageway network is very significantly safer, about 3 times as safe as you or I travelling on a normal A road in a constituency like mine, where there isn't that formal separation of traffic, and where also you can get...
That's nothing to do with smart motorways. Smart motorways is when you get rid of the hard shoulder.
Well, I think it's a combination of things, because actually if you reduce...
If there'd been a hard shoulder, these pensioners wouldn't have died.
If you reduce
This is what the coroner says.
if you reduce capacity on the motorway network, what you're doing is you're automatically pushing vehicles onto other parts of the road network as well. So it's not a one size fits all on this. I think the key thing is the government's accepted that there are issues here, which is why we've paused the scheme. We're also putting £900 million in to retrofit the smart motorway network, exactly tackling some of the issues you've just raised, such as those refuge areas. We're putting those in right across the entire smart motorway network at the moment, and that's why overall we're having that proper pause to look at what more can be done. But the other side of the piece here is that smart motorways are monitored, which also helps you to pick up problems earlier than you would do without that monitoring across the system.
And will you be on the roads this Easter?
I will, and I think we can all welcome today the government's announcement of £47.5 million for another...
See, I didn't think you were going to get to it. You got there in the end.
Over 20 schemes right across the country. This is on some of our most dangerous roads. What we recognise is that, yes, driver behaviour is a major factor, but there's also other factors such as design of roads, design of road junctions, adverse cambers on some parts of the road network. What I want to do is spend as much money as we can improving road safety. Some of that has got to be in better driver training, but some of it also has to be on ensuring that our roads are as safe as possible, particularly some of our smaller roads, which this fund, the Safer Roads Fund...
You're going to have to stop or you'll get me in trouble.
All right.